Okay, let's unpack this. Think about something that's, well, pretty much everywhere in our kitchens, right?
Right.
Cooking oils and fats.
Mm-hmm.
From, frying an egg in the morning to maybe a fancy stir fry for dinner. They're just always there.
Absolutely essential.
But what you probably don't think about much is the sheer scale of it all. The global market.
Yeah.
It's actually incredibly complex and has this, well, huge global impact. We're talking economics, farming, even health.
That's such a crucial point. I mean, cooking oils and fats, they are at their core edible substances we need. They're completely fundamental to how we cook, really, across the world. Households, big industrial kitchens, frying, baking, sautéing, even just in dressings or as additives in processed foods.
Right.
And the variety is, well, it's pretty remarkable. You go from your standard vegetable oils, soybean, sunflower, olive oil, all the way to animal fats like butter and lard.
Sure.
And they all have these, recognized nutritional aspects and different jobs they do in cooking. They're definitely more than just something to stop food sticking to the pan.
Absolutely. So for this deep dive, our mission is really to explore these global market trends. We want to get a handle on the big growth factors, these really interesting regional shifts. And we're drawing all this from some detailed research by cognitive market research. Okay, so here's where it gets really interesting. The numbers. According to this research, the global market for cooking oils and fats was valued at, just over $434 billion back in 2021.
Okay, substantial already.
Yeah, already huge. Then it jumped to $577 billion by 2025. And the projection, it's set to basically skyrocket to a massive $1,017 billion. That's over $1 trillion by 2033.
Wow.
A trillion. Right. And that represents a pretty strong compound annual growth rate, the CAGR, of 7.348% over that time, $1 trillion horizon for cooking oil.
What's truly fascinating here is digging into why. What's driving this incredible growth? And it's not just one thing. It's like a perfect storm of broader trends.
Okay.
So you've got rising urbanization globally. That changes how people eat, what they buy.
Makes sense. More people in cities.
Exactly. Then there's this, ever-growing demand for convenience cooking. People are busier.
Tell me about it.
Which feeds right into the expansion of food processing industries. And another big one is shifting diets, particularly this move towards plant-based oils.
Ah, right. That feels like a big cultural shift, too.
It is. And it's not just strict vegetarianism. It's also this general feeling, that plant-based might be sort of healthier, though the science can be more nuanced, of course.
Sure.
Add to that just, more people eating more food globally, the explosion of fast food chains, more awareness about heart-healthy fats, and just the relentless demand for processed and packaged foods. You put all that together.
And you get $1 trillion market.
Yeah.
I can see how those factors combine. That's a really powerful mix of trends driving this. Is there one driver you think is maybe a bit under the radar, like having knock-on effects we don't always see?
That's a good question. I think maybe the evolving idea of food health is often underestimated. It's moving beyond just, avoid bad fats.
Right.
People are actively looking for oils with specific perceived benefits. Avocado oil, grapeseed oil, things like that.
Okay, yeah. The premium stuff.
Exactly. And that changes the whole value game. It pushes innovation beyond just basic commodity oils.
That makes perfect sense. And like you said, this isn't just happening in one corner of the world. The research shows it's really global. Every major region is adding to this growth. Maybe we should dig into some of those regional stories.
Definitely. And leading the charge quite clearly is the Asia-Pacific region. APAC, its market size is predicted to just soar. It was around $173 billion in 2021, and it's projected to hit over $427 billion by 2033.
Wow, that's more than doubling.
It is, and it's driven by the highest TAGR globally, almost 8% per year.
And zooming in on APAC, some of those country numbers are pretty compelling. China is still the giant, right? Projected to grow to nearly $119 billion by 2033.
Still dominant.
But India seems to be where the really rapid acceleration is happening.
Absolutely. India's growth rate, its CAGR, is one of the highest anywhere, over 9%.
Over 9%.
Yeah, its market is expected to basically triple, hitting over $65 billion by 2033. It really shows a massive shift in consumption there.
Incredible. And it's interesting, too, seeing smaller places like Singapore contributing so much, almost doubling its market between 2025 and 2033.
Yes, reaching over $18 billion. It reflects its role, I think, as a kind of regional food hub, very open to global food trends and innovations.
Okay, fascinating. What about North America?
North America is, well, it's still a huge and growing force. The market there is set to more than double as well, from about 125 billion in 2021 to nearly 279 billion by 2033.
Okay. And I assume the U.S. is the lion's share of that.
It is. The US continues to dominate, expected to reach over 208 billion by 2033.
But Canada's growth looks pretty steep, too, jumping up to over 34 billion.
Yes, Canada is showing very strong growth as well. It's a significant market in its own right.
Does that suggest maybe specific consumer shifts or maybe industrial processing trends unique to North America driving that?
I think it points to both, really. You see this strong trend towards diversification in North America. Consumers are, experimenting more. Specialty oils for health, for flavor.
Right.
But at the same time, there's still huge industrial demand for the standard, widely used oils.
Interesting mix. Okay, South America also looks like it's accelerating fast.
Indeed. A really notable expansion there, from just under 30 billion in 2021, projected to hit over 76 billion by 2033. That's a strong CAGR too, over 8.4%.
And Argentina seems to really stand out there. CAGR over 9.2%.
That's right. Argentina's growth is particularly high, reaching over 10.6 billion by 2033.
What's driving that kind of speed in South America specifically?
Yeah.
Unique factors.
Well, for South America, growth is often linked to rising domestic consumption as economies develop, but also their huge role as agricultural exporters, especially for things like soybean oil.
Ah, the export factor.
Yeah. So even with economic ups and downs, basic development boosts demand for cooking essentials, and they're also supplying the world.
That's a great point. Okay, let's swing over to Europe.
Europe shows steady growth with some key countries driving it. The market grew from about 82 billion in 2021, estimated to reach around 181 billion by 2033. That's a CTR of about 6.7%. Solid, if not quite as high as APAC or South America.
Still significant growth.
Yeah.
And Germany's a big piece of that, I imagine.
Yes, Germany is a major contributor. But interestingly, France actually has the highest growth rate, the highest THR in Europe.
Oh, really?
Yeah, over 7.8%, projected to hit over 27 billion by 2033. So you see that kind of country-level dynamism even within a, more mature market like Europe.
Fascinating. Okay, Middle East and Africa.
Let's look at the Middle East first. Grown from nearly 17 billion in 2021 to over 34.5 billion projected for 2033. Saudi Arabia is the clear leader there in terms of market size.
Right.
But the UAE is also worth noting, one of the faster growing Gulf markets with a CHR around 7%.
Okay. And finally, Africa.
Africa's market grew from just under 8 billion in 2021 to over 19.5 billion projected by 2033. Its overall CIGR essentially matches the global average, which is significant.
And is there anything specific within Africa?
Well, what's quite interesting is the rest of Africa category. So outside the largest single economies, that segment is actually posting one of the region's highest growth rates, nearly 7.7% CAGR.
Oh, wow. So that suggests really broad-based growth across the continent.
It does, yeah. Beyond just the established major players. So if we try to, connect all these dots, pull back to the bigger picture, it's really clear that the whole cooking oils and fats market is in this transformative phase.
No, it seems like it.
It's not just about population growth, although that's part of it. It's really boosted by this rising awareness about food health, about nutrition, also modernization, better distribution systems, especially in emerging economies.
Getting the products onto shelves more easily.
Exactly. And this boom in what you might call functional or value-added oils that cater to specific diets or, premium tastes. Of course, this huge growth also means, unprecedented pressure on farmland globally.
Ah, right, the sustainability angle.
Exactly. It raises really critical questions about sourcing, biodiversity, and environmental impact.
So what does this all mean for us, for you listening? I think it means that this diversity we're seeing in regional growth, it really reflects very specific localized things, how people eat, health trends, economic situations, even those complex global supply chains for agriculture.
Yeah.
And it really cements cooking oils and fats as, one of the most dynamic, most vibrant sectors in the whole global food and beverage industry. It's pretty incredible, isn't it? Something so common, so everyday in our kitchens, has this incredibly complex trillion-dollar global economy humming away behind it. So as you can see, we started with something simple in your pantry and quickly opened up this view onto an incredible scale, this massive growth trajectory for the global cooking oils and fats market. It's a huge story.
And this really raises an important question, something for you to think about. Given this dramatic shift, towards a $1 trillion industry and all this emphasis on health, on convenience, on these regional differences, how might this evolution of cooking oils and fats actually impact things like, say, culinary traditions around the world, or even global food security in the next decade? Especially when you factor in those environmental pressures on farming we just mentioned.
It really does make you think, doesn't it? How your own choices in the kitchen, what oil you reach for, how that's actually part of this massive, really dynamic global story. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're plunging into something that seems incredibly simple, but is actually, well, it's a surprisingly complex and crucial global industry. Cooking
It
oils.
really is.
We're talking about far more than just, what you might use to fry your eggs in the morning.
Oh,
Okay, let's unpack this.
what's fascinating here is how something so fundamental to our daily lives is undergoing such significant transformations, really significant.
So what's our mission today?
Well, our mission is to explore the hidden forces shaping this essential market. Things like evolving health trends, geopolitical shifts, and some pretty remarkable technological innovations, too.
Right. And for this deep dive, we've pulled insights from comprehensive market reports, specifically citing the global cooking oils market, trends and transformations by cognitive market research.
That's the one. It gives a really solid foundation.
So let's jump right in. To kick us off, maybe let's just consider the foundational role of cooking oils and fats. I mean, they're not just a kitchen staple, are they? They're absolutely vital, both at home and industrial food preparation.
Absolutely vital. Think about the range.
Exactly. We're looking at a broad spectrum here, everything from common vegetable oils, animal-derived fats, all the way to really specialized functional oil blends.
Yeah, and they're just indispensable across every single cuisine, every culture, for everything.
Frying, baking, dressing salads.
Sautéing, even food preservation, it's everywhere.
So it's fundamental.
Mm.
But the market itself, it's not static, is it?
Oh, not at all. What's truly insightful here is how consumer health consciousness has transformed what was once maybe a relatively undifferentiated bulk commodity.
Right, just oil.
Exactly, into this highly segmented, value-driven market. It really proves that even kitchen staples can become, well, luxury or niche items for some.
And that's driven by.
Driven by evolving health trends, advancements in processing technologies, and increasingly sustainability concerns. You see these layered shifts everywhere.
In consumption behavior, branding.
Brand positioning, supply chain operations.
Yeah.
From your basic soybean and sunflower oil all the way up to premium avocado and, say, cold-pressed mustard oils. It's a huge range now.
That's a great point. So if this market is so dynamic, what's really fueling this global appetite right now? What are the key drivers?
Well, there are several big ones.
When I first looked at this, here's where it gets really interesting. Consumers are actively seeking oils for their perceived health benefits. That rising health awareness isn't just niche anymore.
No, it's mainstream now. It's genuinely reshaping entire market segments. There's this huge global shift towards heart-healthy options, things rich in omega-3, polyunsaturated, monounsaturated fats. People are reading labels.
So specific oils are benefiting.
Definitely. And that shift is driving significant changes in what's being produced and consumed. We're seeing really robust uptake for oils like olive, avocado, rice bran, and canola.
Why those specifically?
Specifically because of their perceived benefits in cardiovascular wellness and cholesterol reduction. But it goes beyond just general health, too.
How so?
Fortified oils, those enriched with vitamins A, D, and E, are seeing increased adoption, especially in emerging economies. Think India, parts of sub-Saharan Africa.
Ah, where deficiencies might be an issue.
Precisely. Micronutrient deficiencies are prevalent there, so this has really spurred major producers to reformulate their offerings, add vitamins, enhance the nutritional profile. It's a big push.
Okay, so individual health is a massive driver. But beyond that, there's another huge force, right? How we're eating, more eating out, more pre-made meals.
Oh, absolutely. That links into the next big driver.
The expanding processed food and QSR sectors, quick service restaurants, your fast food chains, these are acting as massive growth multipliers for the market.
It's a huge factor, a really huge factor. Commercial grade oils,
Mm.
things like palm, soybean, corn oil, they're heavily favored in bulk cooking.
Why those?
Well, they have excellent thermal stability, they hold up well to heat, and they're cost effective.
Mm.
Very important for large scale operations.
So our love for convenience has wider impacts.
It does. The hidden truth is that our increasing reliance on convenience food isn't just changing what's in our fridge, it's fundamentally reshaping the global agricultural landscape for oils. Commercial stability becomes a driving force for innovation in itself.
And where is this demand strongest?
It connects directly to rapid urbanization, the rise of dual-income households, and a significant shift in eating habits right across Asia Pacific and Latin America. Food service chains, institutional kitchens, ready-to-eat manufacturers, they all need these oils.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Just look at the boom in frozen snacks and street food culture in markets like Indonesia or Brazil. It directly correlates with this increased commercial oil usage, massively.
Got it. And then there's, I suppose, just sheer population growth and economic development.
Exactly. That's another key piece.
Particularly in emerging markets.
Mhm.
You see rising disposable incomes in economies like India, China, Vietnam, Nigeria, and that's increasing the per capita intake of edible oils.
It's true. And as incomes rise, traditional diets in these regions are becoming more diversified. Often that means a higher incidence of fried and processed food consumption, more oil needed.
Are governments playing a role too?
Yes, and what's interesting is how government-led initiatives to improve food security, things like edible oil subsidies or mandates for fortification, like we mentioned, they're actively driving retail penetration, getting cooking oils even into rural and underserved areas.
So it's systemic change as well as individual choice.
Right. It's a structural uplift, and that contributes to what looks like sustained long-term growth for the market overall.
Okay, so strong growth drivers.
Yeah.
But as you can imagine, it's not all smooth sailing. This global market must face challenges.
Oh, definitely. Plenty of them.
Global cooking oil isn't immune to global events, right? So what does this all mean? What kind of headwinds are we talking about here?
Well, one significant constraint is raw material volatility and import dependency for many countries.
Meaning prices jump around.
Exactly. Global prices of key oils like palm, sunflower, soy, they're really subject to disruptions. Think climate change impacting harvests, geopolitical instability, supply chain bottlenecks.
Any recent examples?
Well, the conflict in Ukraine, for instance, severely impacted the global sunflower oil supply. Huge disruption. Or think about deforestation-related restrictions in Southeast Asia affecting palm oil production.
And the result is?
Price instability. It forces businesses and consumers, too, to shift between different oil types based purely on affordability and availability at that moment. Creates a lot of uncertainty, a ripple effect.
Okay, volatility is one. What else?
Another limiting factor, and something that's really pushed innovation, actually, is health concerns, specifically around trans fats and saturated oils, and the regulatory pressure that comes with that.
Right, trans fats have been a big topic.
Huge. Regulatory bodies like the FDA in the US, EFSA in Europe, FSSAI in India, they've enacted bans or maybe warning label mandates on partially hydrogenated oils,
Now, those are used a lot in...
particularly affecting things like shortenings and margarine, very common in industrial baking. This raises an important question. How do manufacturers innovate to meet these regulations without compromising product quality, texture, taste?
That's a crucial point. So
Yeah.
the R&D challenge isn't just about finding alternatives, is it?
Yeah.
It's about replicating that whole sensory experience consumers expect. The texture, the taste, the shelf life, but doing it without trans fats.
Exactly. It's not a simple swap. It requires significant investment.
And convincing consumers too, presumably.
A lot of consumer education, yeah, to encourage the adoption of these newer, sometimes different blends.
Okay, and then there's the whole environmental and ethical side. That seems like a growing pressure point.
Definitely.
The industry faces a lot of scrutiny, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Particularly around palm oil production. We've all heard the allegations: illegal deforestation, human rights violations, unsustainable land use.
Yes, and this has prompted much stronger compliance enforcement. Especially across Europe and North America, retailers are increasingly demanding certification.
Like RSPO.
Exactly. RSPO, the Roundtable on Sustainable Palm Oil Certification, is becoming almost a baseline requirement in many markets.
Which sounds good, but has consequences.
Well, it's a necessary step for sustainability, absolutely. But adhering to these standards does escalate production costs, and it can limit the supplier base for companies. So yes, it puts pressure on margins and affects long-term contracts. It's a complex balance.
It's a very complex balance.
Yeah.
Okay, so challenges are clear. But as the market faces these, what about the innovations pushing it forward? What are the exciting new trends?
Yes, there's plenty happening there too.
We're seeing things like the rising popularity of cold-pressed and organic oils, right?
We are.
They're often perceived as, what, cleaner? Less processed, richer in nutrients.
That's the perception, yes. And it's driving demand. Oils like cold-pressed sesame, mustard, flaxseed, they're being positioned as artisanal farm-to-bottle
Targeting
products,
specific markets.
particularly in premium urban markets. Think Seoul, New Delhi, San Francisco. Their eco-friendly packaging, the zero additive branding, it really appeals to health-focused millennials and Gen Z consumers.
And this helps smaller players.
It's definitely boosting demand for niche, small batch oil startups. It's a fascinating counterpoint to the massive industrial scale we talked about earlier.
Interesting. What other trends?
And if we look at the broader competitive landscape, something else is happening. We're seeing a significant expansion of private labels and regional brands.
Store brands, you mean?
Exactly. Large grocery chains, Walmart, Tesco, Reliance Fresh in India, and even e-commerce giants like Amazon or Big Basket, they're offering very affordable in-house oil brands now. If we connect this to the bigger picture, this trend is reshaping how even the global leaders have to compete. It forces them to rethink strategies beyond just relying on, say, brand recognition alone.
That makes sense. And I guess it's especially pronounced in markets where consumers have really strong traditional preferences.
Absolutely. Like mustard oil in eastern India, or maybe lard in parts of rural China. Global leaders entering these markets find they have to compete not just on brand, but also strongly on price, on regional familiarity, even customizing flavor profiles sometimes.
That's a huge shift,
Yeah,
adapting to local tastes.
it is.
And then, of course, there's the digital aspect. The pandemic really shifted things towards home cooking, didn't it?
It accelerated trends that were already starting.
Right. So the rise of digital commerce and subscription-based grocery services, platforms like Instacart, Blinkit, Swiggy, Instamart, they now offer quick delivery of cooking oils right to your door.
Super convenient. And it goes further than just quick delivery sometimes. Some brands have introduced subscription bundles.
Like monthly oil refills.
Exactly. Supporting direct-to-consumer or DTC models. This cuts down on distributor dependency, but it also enhances consumer engagement. Think loyalty programs, getting direct feedback, real-time price tracking. What's fascinating here is how technology is truly bringing the cooking oil market to your doorstep. It's not just facilitating sales, it's actually creating potentially deeper relationships between brands and consumers.
It really touches every part of the chain. So given this complex landscape, the drivers, the challenges, the trends, it's no surprise that numerous global and regional players are active. They must be investing heavily.
They are in innovation, sustainability, digital transformation.
We're talking about top companies like Unilever PLC, Cargill, Wilmar International, Bunge Limited, ADM.
Associated British Foods, Conagra Foods, United Plantations, Berhad.
And regional players too, like Marico, Mother Dairy, Ruchi Soya Industries in India, for example.
Right, and these firms are leveraging cutting-edge solutions. We're seeing things like blockchain being used for supply chain traceability.
To prove sustainability claims.
Exactly. Or introducing those vitamin-fortified variants we discussed. Shifting to green packaging to align with consumer values and regulations, it's happening across the board.
Is it just the big guys innovating?
Not at all. It's not just the giants. Local manufacturers, cooperative brands, they're exploring their own innovations too. Things like cold press extraction methods, setting up organic farming tie-ups, all to meet that rising demand, especially from urban boutique stores and health food platforms.
So it really is a dynamic space at every level.
Very dynamic.
So what does this all mean for you, our listener? I think it's clear the journey of cooking oil from the field to your kitchen is. Well, it's a true deep dive into global trends and challenges.
Yeah.
Far more intricate and fascinating than maybe you might have imagined.
Indeed. And while the cooking oils and fats industry continues to grow at a, pretty robust pace globally, its future success, it's going to increasingly depend on the ability to deliver.
Deliver what exactly?
Deliver health-conscious, sustainable, and digitally accessible oil products. Products that really align with shifting consumer values and those important regional preferences we talked about.
Which leaves us with a final thought.
It does. This raises an important question for you. How might your everyday cooking choices influence this vast global supply chain? And perhaps, what ethical or health considerations will you prioritize when you're choosing your next bottle of oil? Something to think about.